All right, it's time to get that motor in that car.
In the last episode, we fixed the weakest point of this E46, and that is where the subframe bolts to the chassis. So we removed the whole rear subframe, removed the fuel tank, stripped back the body, and installed reinforcement plates. As you can see here, we're welding them in, front, back, side, the 6 of them that go in, get them all sealed up. Then we have to paint all the underside with underbody paint, and she was done. Now the back of this car can handle 1,000 horsepower all day. Not that we'll be doing that, but it can handle it.
Now to do that, we need to put the gearbox back on, need to put the torque converter back in to the gearbox, obviously, get it back on the back of the motor, lift it up, put it in. So let's get this torque converter slid back into place. I've got some grease for obviously all of that. Let's just start. All right, so as for steps is kind of clean this area out. Obviously we did new bearings and everything in here, so that's all good. Then we're gonna put a bunch of grease all over that. Then slide the torque converter in, and there should be apparently 3 clicks. So click, 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 play it around a little bit, all that kind of fun stuff. At that point, it's time for this to go back on the motor.
To get this torque converter in, you've got to put pressure towards the back of the gearbox and then gently move it up, down, left and right. You'll feel 3 clicks and she's in.
So that's all clicked in place, which is great. As for bolts, so obviously I bought the motor separate to the gearbox. The gearbox didn't come with bolts, thanks to Kel. I have a bunch. So these 2 are the shorter ones because they actually don't go all the way through. They go all the way through on the rest of them. Now, the annoying thing is I only have 1 starter motor bolt, and it's a really strange thread. It's like this automotive thread, which is annoying. And I've only got 1 of these down lower, which is fine because the lower ones I can get to. You can just get under the car and throw some lower bolts in. Wow, I was undoing that. Tell me you're tired without telling me you're tired. So all the top ones are good. I'll do that one. This is going to be the annoying one to get in when it's all in situ, but it is what it is. I need to get this motor in and hopefully I've massaged enough of the tunnel to access that. Worst case, I guess I'm pulling it back out, but no, that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be successful.
Finally, the engine is coming off the stand for the last time. So we've got to take 4 bolts off, lower it down, and it's ready for the gearbox.
Just then I went through all these bolts here, the flywheel drive plate, whatever you want to call it. I went through those bolts to make sure that I had torqued and Loctited them, and I hadn't done either. So they are 27 on this one, which are 10 mils. So that like different models, different iterations have different size. Some have 12 mil, some have 10 mil by 8 bolts, and some are 12 mil by 6 bolts, something like that. I think the Supra might be the 12s. Anyway, whatever, going down a different path. The 8 by 10 mil bolts are 27 Newton meters and 90 degrees. So we went through, did 27 Newton meters, did 90 degrees, marked them all up, did a cross on all the ones that are torqued. So we know that they're good, right? So now I need to lift the engine a little bit, shimmy it together, and I'm gonna put all the bolts in. 72 Newton meters on the 17 mil head bolts, 39 Newton meters. It'll be down here on the 14 mil head bolts. So let's get that done.
Now, when you're trying to locate the gearbox, you've got 3 big helpers. You've got the locating dowel on the left, the locating dowel on the right, and then you've also got your center shaft that has to go obviously in the center of the engine. So make sure all 3 of those line up and you should be able to pull it together quite easily.
Box is on. We have majority of the bolts on. All the ones we don't have on are underneath and they're little baby bolts. So not too worried about them. I can obviously easily access all the ones under here when I need to a little bit later. Not today. So for now, we need to get through the access hole at the bottom of the engine into the gearbox and put the 6 torque converter bolts on. Right here. Don't know the torque setting on here. Definitely going to run Loctite, but I will call the guru Kel and he will tell me the exact figure and we will lock them all up and then it's time to slide it in. All right, torque converter's done. Let's get it in. And there we have it, boys. She is in, and she's in for good. So all I have to do is that the dipstick for the transmission, it's just touching the brake lines. It's not like pushing on the brake lines, but it's just touching it. So I'm just going to modify this bracket to kind of just lean it in ever so slightly, but that's nothing. As you can see, we've got clearance, or I don't know if you can see, but we've got clearance here now with the back of the fan. So that's great. It actually sits back about here, so it's even more clearance, which is spot on. Back of the motor isn't touching. The trans tunnel isn't touching. You can see, I think you can see down there. And down here, we have an abundance of room now, just all the way around. Those hoses are now obviously accessible. As you can see, this one we had to bend up because when it was straight, it was almost touching the fuel rail, so that's no good. So we need to come up from that one into here. There's a hose down there into here, and this one, we're gonna jump up, across, and down into the one at the back. So yeah, this is great. Now obviously I've thrown the front on because I needed to test fit some things and make sure that it was all kind of as good as I was hoping once we did all the changes, and it is. So now, all right, so motor is in and it's staying in. So all those mods that we had to do worked perfectly. Modifying the sump, modifying the heater core hoses, pulling back the thermo fan. What else was there? There's a bunch of other little things. Now, so obviously we're not done yet. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment on what you're excited to see most. I know a whole bunch of you are excited to see me burn these back tires out because we'll be able to, because the VSKFs will go on. That's when we do the hub and the brake conversion. I have to put the VSKFs on at that point because they're the only wheels that are actually going to clear these brakes. So thank you for coming along, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you guys.